Hello, my awesome fifth graders. I trust that you all are keeping up with your math and having a great time doing it. Okay, this lesson is called Space Figures. No, it does not have anything to do with outer space or UFOs. It just means we're going to talk about three-dimensional figures. And if you were in my room, I'd show you a bunch of them, but we have drawings instead. So I guess that will do. Okay, so you can describe some space figures by their faces, edges, and vertices. Now, you guys know a cube? Well, a cube has 6 faces, and you see a face is a flat surface. Can you find the 6 faces? Here we go. There's this one, and then there's one directly across from it. And then we have the front and the back directly across from it. And then we have the bottom, which we refer to as the base, and the top. So that makes 6 flat surfaces that make up the cube. Those are called faces. 6 faces for a cube. And then the next term you need to know is edges. An edge is where 2 faces come together. And when you're trying to count them, it's good to do it in an orderly fashion. So I'm going to get the 4 on the front here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I got 4 on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've got 4 more connecting the front to the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. So did you figure out how many that was? Did you keep track? It was 4, 4, and 4. So that makes 12 edges. So we've got 6 faces, flat surfaces, 12 edges, lines where 2 faces come together. And then we've got vertices. One of them is called a vertex. More than one would be called vertices. Vertices are where 3 or more faces come together, and you kind of get a sharp point there, okay? Again, I would count them in an orderly fashion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's all of them, where 3 or more faces come together, and you get a point there. So we had 6 faces, 12 edges, and 8 vertices. And that particular space figure is called a cube. Okay, there are other shapes that you need to know about. This one is called a triangular prism. All prisms have 2 equal bases, and see how they're coloring the bases in blue here? The base of this prism is a triangle, and then this other base is also a triangle, exactly the same size and shape. And then those 2 bases are connected by rectangular faces. We've got one over here on the side, one over here on the side, and one in the front. And I know that's really hard to see that. But that's what a triangular prism looks like. This shape right here is called a rectangular prism. Rectangular because its base is a rectangle. Then the top is another base, an equivalent or congruent rectangle. And those 2 bases are joined by pieces that are also rectangles. Okay, so that's another example of a different kind of prism. This one is a hexagonal prism because the base has 6 sides. The top also has those same 6 sides, and then they're all joined by these rectangles, another kind of prism. And here's a pretty simple question for you. What is the shape of the base of a rectangular prism? Answer, It's rectangular. That's why it's called a rectangular prism. What is the shape of the base of a triangular prism? It is triangular. What is the shape of the base of a hexagonal prism? You guessed it, it's a hexagon. It is hexagonal. There's a new word for you, hexagonal. Okay, so those were all prisms. Do you see that? All of those were prisms. They have two equal bases, two congruent bases, joined together by rectangles on the side. Okay, so we're moving from prisms to, you guessed it, pyramids. A pyramid has triangular faces. You see that? Triangle, triangle, and there are two other triangles around the side. Has triangular faces that meet at a common vertex. So they've got a point at the top there. Okay, all those triangles came together there. That's called the vertex. And a pyramid is named by the shape of its base, just like the prisms were. This is called a rectangular pyramid because its base is a rectangle. This one is called a triangular pyramid because its base is a triangle. It's a pyramid because all these sides here are triangles and they come to a point up there at the top. Okay, so you learned about prisms and pyramids. Okay, if you were to trace this figure right here and cut it out and fold on the dashes here and tape it together, what shape would it be? Can you tell? It would be a pyramid, but what kind of pyramid? I believe this shape right here is actually a square, so we would call that a square pyramid, square pyramid. And this thing where you cut it out and tape it together and all that, that thing is called a net. It'd be interesting to look at a bunch of nets and see if you could look at them and tell what shape they would make if you cut them out and put them together. Okay, a few other common space figures or three-dimensional figures. I call them geometric solids. That's another name for them. Would be cylinders. A cylinder is like a soup can. It has a circle on the bottom and a circle on the top. And actually, this piece right here, if you think about a soup can label, that's actually made with a rectangle wrapped all the way around. It is not considered a prism because prisms only have line segments for edges. They don't have anything circular about them. So this is just called a cylinder. This is a cone. You've all eaten enough ice cream to know what that is. And this is a sphere. It is not a circle. It is shaped like a ball. It's three-dimensional, and it is called a sphere. Question number 4 asks you, how is a triangular prism different from a triangular pyramid? A triangular prism has a triangle on the top and the bottom, and those two triangles are joined by rectangles. A triangular pyramid has a triangular base also, but its triangular faces then come to a point at the top. Number 5, what would a hexagonal pyramid look like? The answer is you'd have a hexagon for a base, and then you'd have 6 triangular faces coming off of that hexagon that would come to a point at the top. Number 6 asks you, what space figure would this pattern fold into? You know what that is? Again, it's going to be a pyramid, and its base is this right here, so we'd call it a triangular pyramid. So we're supposed to look at these things that are actual everyday items and say what space figure you think they match up with. What do you think about a loaf of bread? I guess that's probably a rectangular prism. I could see you making an argument for a cylinder. It's not quite exactly either one of those. I think this one's pretty clearly going to be a cube. What about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. We've got this base on the bottom and the top, joined by rectangular sides. That's going to be a hexagonal prism. And I think we all know that a globe is a sphere. All right, so this is going to take a little bit of time for you to think about some of these probably. They want to know the faces, the edges, and the vertices, how many for each figure. So let's do number 11. I'm going to put faces, edges, vertices, and you can do that too. So faces are the flat surfaces that make up the figure. So we've got the front and the back. We've got the bottom and the top. And then we've got a side over here on the left and one that matches it on the right. So that gives us a total of 6 faces. And at home you could like get a tissue box or something like that and see if you could use that as an example of that. Edges are where 2 faces come together. They are lines. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 around that front face. 1, 2, 3, 4 around the back face. And then we've got 4 more joining those 2 faces. So that gives us a total of 12 edges. Vertices are where 3 or more faces come together and they make those little sharp corners there. Okay, and there are 8 of those. Okay, we did that kind of on the other page. All the rectangular prisms are going to have the same answer for that. Okay, then for number 12, we're going to do faces, edges, and vertices again. Always try to do it in a logical order to make sure you keep track of everything. I doubt you have that shape at home. Faces are first. We've got this base on the bottom and this base on the top. That makes 2. And then can you see that there are 3 rectangles joining those 2 bases, which would make 5 faces. And then our edges are lines where 2 or more faces come together. We've got 3 for the base here, 3 for the base here, and 3 joining the 2 bases makes 9. Okay, then the vertices are where 3 or more faces come together, and they're the sharp points. We've got 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom, makes 6. So 5, 9, and 6. Okay, you go ahead and try 13, 14, 15, and 16, and turn the video off, and then when you've got your answers, turn the video back on to check. Okay, number 13 is a square pyramid, 5 faces, 8 edges, 5 vertices. Number 14 is also a square pyramid, and so it's got the same answers, 5, 8, and 5. Number 15 is a triangular pyramid because it's got triangular base, 4 faces, 6 edges, 4 vertices. Number 16 is a hexagonal prism with 8 faces, 8 edges, and 12 vertices. That is not right. The edges are 18. Wow, that's a lot of edges, but you can see 6 around the top, 6 around the bottom, and 6 up and down makes 18 edges.